Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Analytics Mindset. In this specific chapter, I will go through the Microsoft Certified Azure AI Fundamental Certification, what are the best tips to prepare for the certification, tips for the exam, and finally, obviously, how to pass it and earn it. As a brief introduction, you can see here that I actually got my own certification on July 4th, 2023. I had a lot of um, motivations to take this certification. I would say the biggest one was that I got a huge discount for sure. There is a lot of reasons why you may want to pursue this certification. You may want to increase your chances of getting a new job, for example. It's a very good way to just explain through an interview process, even if this is considered a fundamental certification, it never hurts. You may want to show to your current employer that you're committed to your self-development, or you may just want to learn new skills because, as you will see later, the content is actually free. As I would say, it is a very good way to develop yourself, invest in yourself, time, for example, and just keep up to date with what's happening in the world of technology. In this case, artificial intelligence, that as all of us know, it's everywhere at this point. With that being said, we will just go through the certification really quickly. This is how it looks when you actually get the certification. And if you scroll down, you can see here a very small summary of what skills it measures. It goes to basics of AI, then what are the principles of machine learning, computer vision, natural language processing, also known as NLP, and generative AI. These are the basis of this certification and what we will focus on today. Before jumping into that content though, we're just gonna go into the Microsoft Certified Azure AI Fundamental certification here. To get this certification that I just showed you, you are going to need to pass this exam, the Microsoft Azure AI Fundamentals, that we will also review really quickly. As you can see here, this gives you a brief description. All of these links are going to be in the description. Everything is owned by Microsoft. I do not own anything. As an FYI, you can use this, as Microsoft itself says, to jumpstart your career. You may want to learn more. You may open possibilities for yourself. If you are watching this video, you are definitely interested in the certification. So here you have some other reasons why you may want to take the certification. As you can see here, this is a basic level certification, and you should have at least some basic cloud concepts and client-server application awareness, at least. I will say this is very self-contained. You do not really need to have previous knowledge, but you may need to do more external research outside of the actual material if you don't feel comfortable around it. From there, we will see there is two ways to prepare, the self-paced one and the instructor-led one. In my experience, the self-paced one is more than enough for you. You can buy Udemy courses, you can go through the instructor-led one if you want, or you can do another resources that you want to. In my experience, all the material you need to pass the certification, it's here. You don't need anything else besides the material that is here, and maybe some research on your part if you do not understand a concept, or do you feel the material is just jumping through something that you need to understand. Besides that, I would recommend, because this is a fundamental certification, you do not need anything else. These learning paths, as you can see, are more than enough for you to go through it. And as you can see, it covers just what the credential says. This one covers the AI fundamentals. This one covers computer vision, NLP, document intelligence and knowledge mining, and generative AI. You have all the material that you need to pass it here again. You can take extra materials, pay for materials, etc. I will not recommend it for this certification. You are good enough with just going through this and understanding this material. Now let's talk a little bit about the exam. The exam is the AI-900 Microsoft Azure AI Fundamentals exam. It will cost you $99. You can get it for free with a lot of Microsoft events that they do from time to time. And the best part here that I will tell you is there is a free practice assessment. I definitely strongly recommend you to take that after you have gone through all the material, and make sure that you know, instead of memorizing why these answers are right, try to understand why they are right. Why are the other ones not correct? How can I just disregard this option. Why is this option incorrect? Why is this option not possible, etc. I would say that's probably a better investment of your time than just trying to memorize the whole certification by itself. And it's going to be a person view exam. If you're not aware of it, that means that you're going to need to either go to a center to take it in person, or probably the most popular option these days, you are going to need to be in a quiet environment and somebody's going to need to be watching at you as a proctor all the time. Keep in mind, that is basically how it is. You won't be able to do it open book, etc. And let's go really quickly to the actual exam. The actual exam, as you can see, covers this certification and will give you that. And as you can see, here are the details of the certification. You have the instructor left and everything else here. With the exam itself, you will get a study guide too that you can use, and I will open it really quickly to prepare for it. And as you can see, again, the material is here, everything else is here. And you can request accommodations. You can get, again, the practice assessment, as I said before. You are going to need to have a passing score of 700. That is the minimum score that you can have. In my experience, it is not that difficult, more so after you know the material. This is a very fundamental certification. Again, you shouldn't have to struggle. You are not going to have a big technical review, and you're not going to have a lab. The content does have labs, and I will also explain why I recommend doing that, but the actual certification does not. With that being said, let's just go straight into it. Microsoft's Azure AI Fundamentals, the overview. I will go section by section, explain my main takeaways of each section, as you can see here in the blades. I will not go through all of it. If you want me, you feel that will be useful, I may do a follow-up video explaining a little bit more about each section. However, for this video, I will just limit myself to give my main takeaways. And I obviously will not go through the whole content as well. Keep also in mind that this content gets updated from time to time, and the exam itself also gets updated. You may need to review that again from time to time if you're trying to take the certification, or if you just take too much time to review the material. As you can see, your first module is going to be 3 hours and 6 minutes, and something I will go really quickly through it just in case you want to give a global perspective. This first module is 3 hours. The next one is 1 hour and 30, let's call it 5 hours. Then you have 2 hours and 30 more, 7 hours and 30. Let's call it 10 hours. And the last one is another 2. So I will say around 12 hours of content is not really an exaggeration. And if you're like me, you may need to go back through all of it to make sure that you're understanding high level. I just prefer to skim through all of it before taking the exam to have it fresh in my mind. You might be different, you might be able to do it in one run, but keep in mind, I would say 12 hours just to cover the whole content by yourself. And then we're talking more or less about another 10 hours, maybe to 8 hours if you want to just go through the whole stuff again and make sure that you understand it. Fundamental AI concepts. You will go through how you can build solutions, what are the cases for AI, what things can you do for AI, and this is actually a very brief overview of the whole exam. You will start again with machine learning, computer vision, NLP, etc., generative AI, and all this stuff in the modules, a little bit more onto challenges and risks with AI, and the responsible AI that are more of the general picture subdivisions of AI. How can we make this responsible use, no discrimination, inclusive AI? What are some risks that you may have with AI? They are not going to crazy stuff like Skynet, but they will follow up with, if we rely too much on this model without making the proper verification, we may do a bias decision, etc. With that, you will start with the fundamentals of machine learning. You will go into both regression and classification, and some clustering and deep learning as well. If you have zero experience with machine learning, you may want to spend a little bit more of an additional time just learning what is regression, what is classification, what is clustering, what is deep learning, etc. I myself have education on machine learning, mostly from the statistics point of view. So I found this pretty self-explanatory. However, again, different backgrounds. If you have really zero experience with this, I would strongly recommend you to go at least very briefly through an introduction if you feel that this material is not covering it for you. From then, fundamentals of Azure AI services, and this is a very important part of this certification. You will be asked questions both about the concepts like machine learning, regression, classification, etc., and also the actual services. What service do you use to create this? What service do you need to use to do this? How does Azure build you for this service? What other services you can use to create this, etc. There is quite a bit of testing on that mapping. What Azure tool you will use, what service you will use, for what task, or Microsoft terminology. You want to make sure that you know that. You know what service you're going to use for what. The most basic example, Power BI. You're going to use that for visualization. You should know that. That's a big part of it. And with that being said, this exam is not focused on Power BI, but I'm giving that as an example. You are going to be mostly put on other services, etc. And that's why you have a whole use Azure AI services here. How do you authenticate for them, etc., etc., etc. With that, going to the next section, we are going to go through computer vision. You're going to go into how computers can actually perceive pictures, videos, etc. How you are able to see stuff and using platform as a service, PaaS, and include AI services in Microsoft Azure. Now, computer vision does build in machine learning. If you make that relationship, a lot of stuff is going to be very self-explanatory. But breaking it down, you're going to go through AI Vision, the service that enables you to actually extract information from images. And as you can see, a lot of it is just focused on first, how do you use machine learning for computer vision? And then the material goes into the actual Azure AI Vision. You have exercises, and I will just open this to give you an example. If you go here, you will be presented with an exercise that you will need to use with an Azure subscription that you can get for free. I will strongly recommend you to do that. You get an Azure subscription, you can follow along, and some questions on the certification also go through what options, what button do you need to press to do this. I would really strongly recommend you to do that because when you do it yourself, you will know how to do it. That's a personal recommendation, but it is strongly recommended. I would strongly recommend you to do the exercises and the labs. From there, you move to facial recognition. How do you detect faces? How do you analyze? How do you actually tell who is who? You can use Azure AI Face for that. That's another service there. And you can go into face analysis. Then you're going to go into face analysis in Azure, and then Vision Studio. Also, every single section has a knowledge check. In these knowledge checks, you are going to be asked some questions, as I will show you here. You are multiple choice. I also strongly recommend you to do these ones. Even if you get them wrong, it doesn't really matter. You can do them as many times as you want. These ones will be very useful for you to check your understanding before you take the exam. Then you go into optical character recognition, also known as OCR. That basically allows you to extract text from different media. You are going to go into Vision Studio, then how do you do the knowledge check and summary at the end. A pretty self-explanatory module. Natural language processing. As you can see, this is a big module too. It's 2 hours and 24 minutes, and you will go a lot into how computers process natural language, aka human language. That can be awfully difficult and complex and tedious, talking from my own experience. You will start with text analysis and language services, how we can use NLP, sentiment analysis, key phrase extraction, name entity recognition, and language detection. Similar to machine learning, if you have zero knowledge, zero previous experience with NLP, I would recommend you read the introduction, go through a little bit of the first or the second parts of these units here. If you feel that you're lost, go to the basics, go to a simple explanation. It can be in another tool. Let's say you know Python, you know R. You can do it even in Excel because Excel has some regex and NLP capabilities. Get an understanding of the concept first. That can throw you off really easily if you just do not understand the concept and then try to go straight to the tool and try to replicate what they are doing. I would recommend you to do that, again, if you feel that you're lost in this. Then you will go into question and answering with language service. How do you create a bot pretty much that will answer some questions? This is a more managed stuff. It will go through a lot of how Azure allows you to build it, what settings you need to do for that, how that works in a real world scenario, etc. And finally, conversational language understanding. You will go into more conversations and how can we basically chat with that through Language Studio. You will also go through AI speech that will allow you to both do speech recognition. Basically, I am talking something. A computer says I am talking something. That it is quite a bit of a harder task that probably most people realize. And synthesis. And also how you can read text. You can synthesize from the text and give you back voice. And AI speech will be basically doing both tasks there. By the way, if you're curious, AI speech is also based in machine learning because it needs to learn the patterns and try to just give the speech, but recognize the speech and generate speech too. Our next module that is way smaller than the other two is document intelligence and knowledge mining. This is probably one of the less popular ones. Gen AI is everywhere these days. NLP is also pretty popular around. Machine learning put into data science is also very popular. For document intelligence, it is a little bit more of an obscure task, but it is still very important, and I will explain to you why over here. You have document intelligence and knowledge mining. In the first one, you will go through how you can automate the data extraction across document types, more documents that are not your usual Excel spreadsheets, for example. Documents that have a different version or a different structure without a lot of stuff, for example. We touch about optical character recognition as before, and how you can read a formal document. And this is going to go through, I have this receipt, it's a picture, it has text, I need the text information, I don't have anything else. That will be part of document intelligence, or how you extract knowledge from a document. You need these numbers here. They are inside a picture of a receipt. You don't have any other way, but you still need that information. And there is ways to do that I will not go into it right now, but receipt analysis, as you can see, is a big part of it because Azure gives it its own unit inside here. Then you go into knowledge mining and Azure AI search that makes your data searchable. How are you able to search stuff? How do you do enrichment pipelines? How do you do an index, build index, create indexes in the Azure portal, etc. All of that stuff will be explored here. Again, this is not really such a popular task as the other two, but it's still important and you should understand it because it's a big part of the certification too. The last one will be generative AI, by far probably the second biggest module and one of the most popular ones. It will allow you to say, I am putting natural language input, give me a new original content based on that input. This is built on the chatbots. You should start with the chatbots for obvious reasons. It does a lot on the Azure OpenAI service and how you use that to leverage this technology. If you start going through the fundamentals of Gen AI, if you are not familiar with large language models, this provides a very decent explanation, and that's why you have quite a bit of content here. And how you can do that through generated content based on the natural language input. You should also learn how to use copilots. That's something very new. And how to assist humans in creative tasks, as we have seen later on with a lot of trends in the internet too. Then finally, you are going to go into how specifically Azure OpenAI service works, how you can do responsive AI, text and code and image generation. So generate me a text, a response out of this. Make a picture out of a prompt. Generate me Python code or Scala code to do an action. All of that can be set up to Azure and do your own chatbot on that. The last one will be responsive generative AI, how you can create, responsible generated AI, how you can implement responsibly to minimize the risk of harmful content generation. This goes a lot into stuff that will be tested, in my experience at least. How do you plan a responsive generative AI solution? What are some harms that you may have, measure potential harms, etc. And how you do content filtering or mitigate potential harms as well. That is the main part of the certification. As I said before, there is really not a way to know what you get tested. You get tested what you get tested, not two exams are equal. You may have a different way to be tested than somebody else before you or after you. I will focus on just practicing, practicing, and practicing, being able to understand what is happening, being able to understand why a certain question is like that, and then take the exam. The exam itself is not that hard, at least on my specific experience. It might be different for you. You might need more preparation or you might need less preparation. It depends a lot on how you will be able to do it. And just to wrap this up, I will go ahead and replace this last part. Now, as you can see here, you will be tested on pass of the exam. And this will actually tell you what percentage of each of them, and this is the last part we're going to go through. The exam was updated on November 2nd, 2023. Part of the stuff that I have told you about from my experience might not be applicable, but for most of the part, the exam should still be very similar. As you can see here, you will be tested 15 to 20% on the workloads and considerations of AI, 20 to 25% on the principles of machine learning. So between workloads and considerations and principles, you have pretty much half of the exam or 35% if you get the lower end. Computer vision, natural language processing, and Gen AI, the most applied parts and specific to Azure to some degree, are the other half of it. There is no way to know which one you're going to get. The exam varies a lot. And again, my best recommendation for your own money to be able to do it will say take the practice assessment first. I will just open it really quickly to show you how it looks. It looks like this. And because my computer always will go in default into Spanish, I will change it to English. You can see here, you're going to get a question here. This is very similar to how the actual exam will show you to be. And for example, here is which artificial intelligence technique serves as a foundation for modern image classification solutions. And it will give you all of these questions, all of the answers that you can choose from. If I choose any of them, and I then put check my answer, there you go. It was not anomaly detection, it was deep learning, and it will give you an explanation of why this is the case. I will go to the explanation. It actually gives you a link to the actual module that you will get into, so you can just go through it and review the topic if you want. You have 50 questions. Sometimes you can get a different one too. I would recommend to still go through it. And with that, that's mostly everything for this exam. You can get also an ACE college credit if you're interested in that as well. Yes, as another tip over there. So if you're interested in that, you can. And with that, that is all. I will leave all these links in the description. And I appreciate your time. Thank you for looking at my channel, and I hope you have a good day.